I'll bring this town hall meeting to order. So to start with, on the agenda that was passed out, I'm just going to quickly go through what the lineup and expected protocol of tonight is. So the first thing is, this is a town hall format. We're talking about the bills that are under consideration in the Tennessee General Assembly, the 113th Tennessee General Assembly at current. But I want to make a reminder that no one sitting here can vote on any of those bills. We can only help to hopefully influence the people that will be voting on those bills and show a motion of solidarity for the ones that we want them to make sure and support to better our public schools here in Hamilton County and throughout Tennessee. So in the format today, we're going to allow for community input to start with. I will keep open my email to see if anyone else has sent any. So far we haven't had any questions. Each speaker is going to have about 3 minutes per speaker. And then I will ask questions if needed. The board could ask any questions they may find needed of the speaker, and we'll move on to the next. After that session, I will address any follow-up information or clarification from what we've talked about. And I may touch on a few things that have been some of the hot button issues and possibly give some clarity to them. And then at the end, we'll have a conclusion, any follow-up questions that may be needed, and dismiss. The first person I have on our list to speak is Paul E. Smith.
My name is Paul Smith, and I live here in Chattanooga. I went to the University of Chattanooga. I have a master's degree there. I attended UTC, UT, Vanderbilt, Oak Ridge Institute of Nuclear Studies, and Florida International University. Several years ago, a nonpartisan group was elected to serve in the Constitutional Convention for the state of Tennessee. At that time, from Hamilton County, we had Claude Ramsey, and I think the county attorney was there. Our county attorney now was there too. Reuben Taylor was on that group. I was elected to head the educational division to rewrite the part of the state constitution about education. At that time, Tennessee had the oldest constitution of any state in the Union. And so at that particular historical time, the Constitution in the state of Tennessee had separate but equal school systems. And in Oak Ridge and Knoxville in particular, because they're closest to this area, some students were bused all the way to Knoxville to have an education. So they really did not have a separate but educational system there. And this was partially due to the financing of the legislature and also the local governments. So as we came around to write the new Constitution for the state of Tennessee, and which was incidentally elected by all the people of Tennessee, we were very careful as to how the monies were appropriated and how they were to be spent. There's great volumes of this, and all of our recordings are in this book here, which is part of the state records, legal records, which is called the Constitutional Convention Proceedings. One of the interesting things that we did was that we really gave the local school boards the majority of the authority, not only to spend the money, but also to be divided into equal districts so that each district would have a fair shot of delegating the types of education that was to be provided for them, not only schools, but staffs and so forth, which we have now, and we did not have before then. What concerns me is this new legislation that's going through where they're wanting to spend money to private schools. First, our testing program is on the Bell system. And it appears to me that 10% are going to make A's and 10% are probably going to be below that, so that the common middle will always be attained. And as our education system goes up, we move the lower part up with the higher part. Well, unfortunately, the private schools that we have locally, I don't believe are tested on the same test that we give our students. And so when we say that we have failing schools, we don't necessarily have failing schools. We have schools that are just not in the middle, so we're always trying to bring the lower part up. And when we begin to take some of the schools that are mentioned here in Hamilton County, they've probably got more bilingual students in those schools than any other school in the state. And so we're teaching students really that aren't tested on bilingual knowledge. And we saw recently an episode with one of the private schools where we had a student expelled. Well, when those students get expelled, they're dumped back on the public schools, which we've got to then test them, and we don't know what kind of background they have. So that leaves our public schools at a disadvantage. But more important than that is the funding. We voted statewide to have all one educational system, and that was the public educational system. The school boards were to come up with their budgets, and they would present them to the local legislatures, and the legislatures would present those monies to the different schools. We gave no authority to the state legislature to delegate funds to private schools. That was voted against when we voted down the separate but equal school systems. And I have, for instance, here, this was sent to Harry Austin several years ago. I think this was October the 31st, 1977, where it says Mr. Walker of Roane County, which is part of the place where I was talking about, as to whether or not a county legislative body would control it. The county legislative body would only be able to reform the functions that were not denied it by the legislature. So they're not denied anything by the legislature. The current legislature delineates very keenly between the progressivities of the county legislative body to appropriate the money to the boards of education and for them to expend it. So what we actually said, that the state legislature would appropriate monies directly to the school boards. It did not give them authority to delegate monies to outside entities. This is clearly written in the state constitution, and we were keen enough at the time to know that legislation, legal battles would be taken over this. So we wrote it in the transcript, which was advertised across the nation or across the state before the bill was adopted. So I maintain that the act that the legislature is going to try to pass is illegal, and if it's taken to court, it will be thrown out. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Smith.
Paul, one question for you. So what year was that? The Constitution?
1977.
1977.
Yeah, it was the state legislature. And in addition to that, I might also make a footnote that when the school board delegated the authority to the county legislature to do the buildings of the schools several years ago, that's really illegal. All the buildings of the schools and so forth is really the responsibility of the school boards and not the county government. Thank you.
Which bill number? Mr. We actually do have one more question, if you don't mind to follow that up. In the legislature that you're holding, what bill number is it, or what reference point is it?
Well, there's a whole book on it. I have them earmarked. Let's try, let's see. I'll get that for you in a minute. It'll take me a few minutes to
That's
look
fine.
up the bill number. That's That's pretty technical.
Yeah, I just want to be able to reference it. Great question, Faye. I want to be able to reference it when brought up. Okay. I noticed that a few more people came in late. Is there anyone else that wanted to sign up to speak on a certain bill or have a question about certain legislation that is in front of us? Nope. Okay. Well, then I'm going to move on from the town hall section and go into addresses. I've had a couple of questions from media asking about. Switch gears. Asking about the voucher bill and third grade retention. And then one also about establishing the maximum class size of an LEA in public charter schools. On that one, that has that specific bill is in subcommittees right now in both the House and the Senate. It has passed two folds of the Senate and is being further discussed. The way that the bill is written, it would be at the behest of the school system. So the director of schools, our superintendent, Dr. Robertson, would be in charge of it in his office. I have the utmost confidence that Dr. Robertson would get the right amount, but at the baseline, I don't think that I don't think that I am for them taking away the guardrails of class sizes. That one is yet to be seen, and I will be reviewing it with them. The next one that I mentioned was about the vouchers. The vouchers have passed, the voucher bill itself has passed the Senate. It is going to stand some strong opposition in the House. Representative Sexton, the Speaker of the House, has been vocally opposed to it preferring charter schools over vouchers, is his official stance on it that he has been public about. So it will be interesting to see how it goes to the House. And then the last one, the third grade retention. Just this week, there are 14 different bills or versions of amendments that have been in different subcommittees, and none of them have actually been voted on the House floor. It will be reviewed next week. On the 28th will be a major review of it. There was a Senate subcommittee today that I've not yet, that actually probably hasn't finished yet, on it. And then the Tennessee School Board Association feels that March the 7th will be a big day for decisions made on third grade retention. There's a delegation of Tennessee School Board Association representatives, legislative representatives, that will be there, myself included. I'll be in Nashville on the 6th and the 7th to assist in any way that I can be present and offer myself to be, they've changed the title. It's a witness. You actually have to be sworn in and potentially be asked to help and talk. That is open to any Tennessee resident that wishes to be a part of it, as is all of the legislature. But that is something that I will plan to be a part of. Those are my first things of community input. Those are the emails that I've received, again, from the media and other persons. At this point, I have no other direct questions to answer unless someone would like to pose a question specifically. Does any fellow board member have something that they would like to be clarified? I know that Faye had a list of things she might want to talk about, and I could add any light. Again, just coming back from the Tennessee School Board Association Legislative and Legal Institute in Nashville, specifically geared towards members of the boards to gain a better perspective of the bills. So that's what we're here for.
I did see where the teachers were asking for the instructional supplies allowance to be raised from 200 to 500. How long has it been at 200? I mean, when's it been reviewed?
So in the thing, that actually exact question was asked, and they said that it had been longer. Yeah, they said that it had been that way. I believe they thought 20 years, but they knew that it had been a long time.
And is this a exemption from on the income tax filing, or as opposed to the budget that the county has?
So that's not written into the law. Yeah, it's not written into the law. It would be, I'm sorry, it's definitely not from the county, but it's not written into the law exactly how it would come out. It would follow,
But we have an existing at 200, correct?
Right, and that one comes from the federal government.
It comes from the federal
Or,
government.
I'm sorry, from the state government.
Oh, it comes from the state
State
government.
not
Okay.
from our Hamilton County
Okay,
government.
thank you.
The 14 amendments around third grade retention, do they all have a similar theme? Are there any that stand out? Are they all across the board?
They are definitely all across the board. The better of them tend to step away from just using just using TCAP as the standard model. The best of the ones that, in my opinion, and the best of the ones by the lawyers at TSBA that tend to know a little bit more than me, they felt if there was teacher input, learning and reading interventionalist input, that would be something that would be a much better stopgap than just taking a single testing point. All of the best ones had the same mantra of more data points.
Right, okay.
Right. And also there was, one of the amendments was, for the third grade retention, was putting an age limit on the age of a student entering first grade. How did that, I know they were talking about that a student could not enter first grade until they were at least 7 years of age. How did that turn out?
So there was a key point to that was that would be considered retention. So it would affect the current state of the third grade retention because a student would have been previously retained. So it would essentially nullify the third grade retention for anyone that happened to be not old enough to enter first grade. So because of that, they felt it probably didn't have as good of a chance of passing because it was already kind of a redundant issue. But it seemed to me in the group that we were in to be a kind of unilateral, that's a not great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has not gone in, it's currently just in subcommittee. It has not made it to the House floor, so it has not
Okay.
been passed out of subcommittee.
That would basically just move the date for when people could, like, it would just eliminate summer birthdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I think what it would, people want to, or many people want to start their child in kindergarten at age 5, which means then they're age 6 in first grade, but then they'd have to do a second year of kindergarten before entering first grade, and that's, either that or they hold off on entering them into
Right.
kindergarten. But their data the data they're using to decide this is solid. 9-year-olds do better on the TCAP than 8-year-olds. But to turn around and say you can't be 7 until you go into first grade is kind of strange.
I agree with you. Personally, if I were talking about it, I think that I would never put just age limit on it. That's personally because I've seen it in my house. My first daughter was a spring birthday, and she had a little bit of struggles at first. My second daughter is a fall birthday, right at the cusp, and so she had to wait. She did pre-K twice, and under this law, she would have done kindergarten again, and she would have been vastly overwhelmingly like, yeah, very bored. It would have done her a disservice.
Dr. Robertson, if for some reason, and I think he said it, there's not a lot of steam building on this one, but if they did pass something like that, is there anything that says that a child can or can't do 2 years of kindergarten? If they...
No, there's not. Essentially, this is a decision made between the school and parents. You're talking about moving into first grade at 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Right, or some kids are moving into first grade at 6 years old, and...
I think that you look at every kid
Yeah.
individually and figure out, like, from an academic standpoint, but then even from a social standpoint, what's the right decision. Parents make decisions to do 2 years of kindergarten, and simply because they're an early person. Turning 5 in August, so you obviously be in kindergarten, but you want to get them started.
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing in place right now that prevents us.
Is it done very often at this time or not?
I don't have
Okay. Thank you.
Just as a point worth noting, should any of our legislators be considering this and be paying attention, it is an incredible burden on families who have jobs outside the home who use daycare. To a lot of families set financial goals and are looking for a raise when they get rid of that daycare bill of that last kid that's in daycare, counting on them to be able to move into kindergarten at the age of 5. And if it's pushed to age 6, because first grade is pushed to age 7, that's another entire year of possible child care bills that would significantly burden families. And really placing a blanket arbitrary number on kids across the state doesn't generally work out well for families anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any other inputs from the crowd? Any? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
I would like to also say that we discussed that. In fact, we were there almost 2 years discussing education. And the body as a whole really thought that the decisions of this type should be made at the school board level. And we tried to divorce the state legislature from dictating programs of this type because of the political influence that they had. And it was so broad that it did not get to the individual communities across the state. So our intent was that school boards would make these types of determinations and not the legislature. And I think if you're lawyers and somewhere along the line, NEA or others will probably look at these laws and contest them up to the Supreme Court, and they'll all be found unconstitutional because we made a very clear record in our discussion, so that the intent of the body, when we did away the separate but equal school systems, would be delegated by the local areas, by local school boards. Their buildings would be built by the school boards and not the county commissions or the state government. That way they would be equal opportunity for every neighborhood. And you can give this to him too, if you would.
Thank you. I'd be very interested to talk to Tennessee School Board Association does have lawyers on staff to look through it, so I will be sharing this with them and make sure that they know to look into it, which is awesome. Just on a personal note, my papa worked at Oak Ridge National Laboratories also, so that's a really awesome piece of history. Thank you for that.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if no one else has anything else to bring up or anything that's important that we should be focusing on, please know that I'm going to schedule another town hall like this to talk about the bills that have been passed and how they will affect Hamilton County schools at the end of the Tennessee General Assembly. For everybody that's watching virtually, I welcome an email to ask a direct question about it. If I can't find the answer, I will. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. I want to be as open and as accessible as possible as our representative to the Tennessee General Assembly. That email is connor_ben@hcde.org. And Connor is OR, just an important note. All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody being here. Leadership starts with listening, and that's what we're all about. So thank you very much.